Welcome back to Video Editing Systems. Today we're talking about elbow injuries in editing. Welcome back to Video Editing Systems. My name is Devin. I'm a remote video editor living in Argentina, and on this podcast we talk about any kind of systems that make us better filmmakers, content creators, videographers, business owners, anything along those lines. Today we're talking about injuries. If I plan this podcast right, we just talked about, the last podcast was with Tony Wise, and I just filmed another one with Jonathan Schroeder, and both of those guys flipped the podcast around on me, and we talked a lot about video editing, but like Jonathan, we talked a lot about running, and we talked about other things not necessarily totally tied into video editing, and I figured I would break it up and take back the podcast for this episode. This time, this is actually, for me, it's a really important episode. I wish I had, my goal with this episode of the podcast is to share information that I really wish I had about a year ago, because I started suffering from elbow pain from editing and also from a specific type of climbing. And it's been a year journey, but I'm back. I'm feeling better, way better than ever. And I just wanted to share some of the things that caused the tendinosis in my elbow and what I've done to fix it and make it better. I think some of this is it's applicable to other injuries as well. I guess I should probably mention that I'm not a doctor. I'm a video editor and I like climbing, but this is what I felt. This is how I've gotten through it. Take it and use it how you want to use it. But I will share everything that I can, how I got through this injury. So what caused my tennis elbow, my tendinosis of the elbow, my lateral epicondylalgia? What that is it's pain on the outside of the elbow. That's tennis elbow. On the inside of the elbow is golf elbow. Now, it varies for me. Sometimes it's closer to the tricep, sometimes above the elbow, sometimes it's below the elbow and the forearm. It's still I'm still dealing with this, but it's way better than it was about a year ago. About a year ago, I started feeling constant pain because I sit 40 hours a week at the computer, at the keyboard. And apart from that, I also climb, and I have a moon board in my yard. So what a moon board is, if I'm sure a lot of people listening aren't climbers. When you climb there, it's kind of, there's these new things. It's like a video game for climbing. You have a climbing wall, right? And it's angled. Mine is angled at 40 degrees. It's really overhanging. And moon board it's the same climbing wall. If you go to Japan, if you go to Europe, if you go to the States, it's the same set of holds and the same angle, the same configuration. And there's an app that you can connect to, and you can light up different routes on the wall. I don't have the lights, but I can do I just have to remember what holds I'm using, and I'm basically climbing the same route as everyone else around the world. So it's really fun. You get like this fun community, and you climb the same. Right now I'm actually climbing climbs that my buddy that is in Italy, he's climbing on the same board, and we climb the same routes. It's just really universal, and it's really fun. It's also really notorious for injuries because the type of climbing, it's very explosive, very dynamic. You have to jump a lot, jump to small holds that aren't very ergonomic. They mess up your fingers. The first time that I climbed on a moon board, I also messed up a finger pretty badly. And what happened with the elbow is that because it's explosive movements and you're jumping a lot between holds, you shock load the elbow quite a bit. When you catch yourself, it's like if you were to jump up and grab a bar and hang, except it's smaller holds. That explosiveness and just jumping to each hold and hanging on each hold, that shock to your elbow over time, if you do it a lot and you don't stretch right and you don't do some kind of injury prevention, it can mess up your elbow. And that mixed with 40 hours a week at the computer, messed up my elbow. And so my first telltale sign over a year ago, pretty much exactly a year ago, I have a big cast iron pan that I used to cook everything in. That's like my best friend in the kitchen, but it's heavy. And when I would pick it up from the handle, I would feel a pain exactly in the forearm closer to the elbow. And at first, there's certain kinds of pains as climbers we kind of just get used to. It's almost kind of like a joke. It was like a joke for a while. And then after a while, it started hurting while I was sitting at the computer, and I realized that this isn't funny anymore. It's real, something's happening that isn't good. And eventually it got to the point where it was really frustrating because I couldn't work. It hurt to work, and I had to limit how much I work. I had to figure out ways around it. And I've heard from other people with similar injuries. It sucks when you work at a computer, and it's not that you don't think of it as something taxing on your body, but if you can't sit at the computer, it's just that's your income. That's your way of. It's really frustrating. It also happened to me where I couldn't work, I couldn't climb, I could everything that I could think of that keeps my mind active and makes me happy, using my elbow. I was limited, yoga. I do a lot of yoga, and I couldn't do a lot of yoga with my elbow. I play guitar. I couldn't play guitar at all with the elbow. Everything that I did would hurt the elbow, and I started losing my mind a little bit. I started running, and even at some points when it was really bad, just running with a constant 90-degree elbow, even that bothered my elbow a little bit. But I will say running definitely got me feeling better, thinking just something else that I could do, not related to climbing or video editing, just something different that isn't, it was one of the least taxing activities for my elbow, and just made me happy. Now, when you're sitting at a laptop, when you're sitting at a computer, the main thing, this is something that now that I think about it, I forgot all about this. I actually had to drop my desk down a little bit because I made my desk and it was kind of high. So you want your elbow when you sit, you want it at 90 degrees. You want your hands down at 90 degrees. And also, if you think about when you sit, naturally, your hands, if you sit at a table, your thumbs will go up naturally. That's just the way that your body is made, should be made. So just turning your hand flat to go to the computer is already something that isn't really, our bodies aren't made that way. So if you're doing that constantly, it's an issue. When I bought I've got a fancy Logitech mouse. When I first bought it, I was actually looking for a mouse. They have ergonomic mice that sit vertically so that your thumb is kind of up, if that makes sense, as opposed to a regular mouse where your hand is flat. I actually bought one. It didn't have enough buttons to make shortcuts, and that's what I got the mouse that I have. But if you just think about the way that your hands sit on the computer, you want them up. So I think if you can get by with one of those mice that rotates your wrist so that your thumb is more facing upwards as opposed to facing down, I think that's a great way to just get you sitting a little bit more natural. I also sometimes I lowered my desk so that my elbows were at 90 degrees so that there was no kink in my elbow, because my desk was a little bit higher and I had a little bit less than 90 degrees in my elbow, if that makes sense. At sometimes, if it was really bothering me, I would also lift my keyboard. I would put the external hard drives underneath the keyboard just so that the keyboard would be tilted so that it's not as flat. And my left hand that stays at the keyboard is always up a little bit, because I rarely use my right hand on the keyboard. It's usually just on the mouse. That's why I have all my fancy buttons. But yeah, if you inclinate, I don't know if there's a keyboard that actually goes sideways, but that was my workaround, something that I did just to play with the keyboard so that I wasn't so flat with my hand when my elbow was really bothering me. So one other thing that I think really helps, just talking about being at the computer and helping, and I've talked about it on the podcast before, is just taking breaks, just making sure at least once an hour you get up, move around. One of the things that really helped me is a quick like 2-minute exercise, not even 2 minutes. If you get a tennis ball or any kind of ball, anything really, like a ball is better because it's just rounder, and you hold it flat you hold your hand out flat and you put a ball on top of it, and then you just rotate the palm of your hand left and right. And so you bring your hand up above. I'm doing this in the video, but hopefully if you're listening to this over Spotify, it makes sense. You hold the ball in your flat palm of your hand, lift up your hand, rotate your hand all that you can, and then you can bring it back. If you can bring it all the way around, I'm limited with how much mobility I can have. But if you rotate your palm all that you can, and then rotate it back around and bring it down as low as you can, that's just a great way of moving your elbow a little bit and getting more range of motion so that you're not just stuck in the same position for 8 hours a day. But yeah, I think just getting up and moving around, using your elbow so that it's not constantly in the same position is one great way just to avoid a lot of different injuries. If anything like this starts to happen, I went to a lot of different kinesiologists, we call them here, physical therapists, a lot of different physical therapists, and if you go to a physical therapist, I heard a climbing coach one time say that if you go to a doctor with your pulley injury, like a finger injury from climbing, if you go to a doctor, it's like taking your iPad to a mechanic and asking them to help. Like, a lot of physical therapists will just try to make it so that things don't hurt. And like, if you think more like an athlete, and if you're sitting at the computer for a while, it's kind of like it's its own sport, and you want to think that you don't want to just get better, you want to get stronger so that you can keep going, if that makes sense. I went to a lot of different physical therapists, and most of them told me I just need to take a break from climbing. It doesn't really help with editing when that's my source of income. And honestly, from what I've learned, again, I'll repeat, I'm not a doctor, but I've got experience with my elbow now, and I've had injuries before, similar tendon injuries. I think taking a break is the worst thing you can do for a tendon injury, because all it's going to do is make maybe a day or two if it's really inflamed, like a few days. But if you take a few weeks off of whatever's causing the injury, the tendon's just going to get weaker. And then you're going to go back to it and you're going to shock load it. You're going to like go back to what you were used to doing before. And the tendon's only weaker. Not only is it damaged, but it's also weaker. So I think in my personal experience, you want to slow down, maybe less volume or less of a workload, but you want to keep using that tendon and figuring out how you can get it to work. You like look for a pain, like a 3 out of 10 pain. Like you want to be able to feel a pain for different exercises, maybe not constantly when you're sitting at the computer. That's the tricky part. But if we're talking about exercises, you want to be able to feel a little bit of pain. It's when it's really bad. Like when I had it really bad, I couldn't sleep. There were nights that the whole night I could feel that my elbow was messed up. So I'm not a big fan. I don't believe that you really need to take a break. I think like kind of the opposite. You want to strengthen that elbow and strengthen to make it so that you can get back to what you're doing, and you want to come back stronger. You want to come back stronger in the tendon and around the tendon. And so eventually I got to a physical therapist. His name is Marcos. He's freaking awesome. I recommend him. Nobody listening to this is going to go see him, I don't think, because I live in Córdoba, Argentina. And if I've told a lot of friends they should go see him, but I feel like if you're listening to this, you're probably in the States and you're probably not going to go see Marcos. But maybe there's a Marcos in your city. Marcos is a CrossFit trainer. He's a coach. He's also a physical therapist. And so he's stacked, and he knows, like, he trains a lot, and he knows certain things, and he didn't let me rest at all. Like, I got in there, the first couple sessions was just a lot of exercises, and he sent me home with a lot of homework. Right now I'm still doing twice a day. I will do a warm up for my elbow. It takes me about 20 to 30 minutes. And since I started seeing him in January, and since then, this is what I've been doing. At first, it wasn't every day. Now it's twice a day. I'm doing this exercise. exercises. And yeah, I combined some of the things that he showed me with other things that I've done in the past for climbing and other things that I've learned, I found online for climbing injuries. And yeah, it's worked. It's incredible. I think that's the best way to get away from an injury like this, is just consistency, making sure you get it stronger. All right, so I'm going to slowly walk you through what I'm doing currently for my elbow. These are the exercises that I do. Half of them are things that Marcos has given me. Other half are things that I found online or that I've done in the past that seem to help me with similar injuries. A lot of these, there's one, I'll wait till we get there, but it's helped me with all kinds of finger injuries, even like shoulder injuries. It's kind of helped me with. So a lot of these can be used for other type of injuries as well. But I feel like the elbow injuries just happen. It's something that, like, if you're an editor or a videographer, it's pretty common. So the first thing I do is foam roll. You want to soften up the tissue, not just near the elbow. Actually, not on the elbow at all. You don't want to go over any type of bones. But I foam roll my back, sides of my back, and then my lats, like right underneath the elbow, right underneath the armpit, right underneath the armpit, and then I go up to the tricep really close to the elbow where it tends to hurt, kind of like tricep towards the outside, if that makes sense. I'm pointing in the video, but yeah, I hope that makes sense. Then I foam roll the bottom of my forearm where it doesn't hurt at all, but it's the other side of where it does hurt. So foam roll over here. What I do is I put the foam roller and then I get a leg up over the other side of my leg, so I put pressure on it. Yeah, you can also just do it with like a lacrosse ball or a tennis ball, something to soften up. You can get creative with the foam rolling. So I go under the forearm, and then on the other side where it does hurt, on the top of the forearm, foam roll all of that. I also do the right side. All of these things I do on the right side too, because I've felt that it doesn't, I don't have the same injury on the right side, but I can feel that I've felt that it's like close. It's kind of similar. So I like, just to be careful, I do both sides and just to keep everything even. So that's the first thing, foam roll. Next, a little bit of a dynamic stretch. So what I do is I sit on my knees and my hands, like 90-90, tabletop position if you do yoga. And I put my fingers out to the side, hands flat on the ground, so that it's flexing the forearm muscles. And I go back and left and right, go side to side, just to extend a little dynamically, not like sitting in the same position, just go back and forth. And then I flip my hands so the back of my hand is sitting against the floor and my fingers are facing towards each other. Again, I'm doing it in front of the camera. But yeah, same type of idea. You want to make sure your elbows are straight, your shoulders are right over your elbows, and same thing, go side to side, and so that you get a little bit of dynamic stretching there. Next, I do some band work. This is all things that Marcos has given me. I went through a couple different band exercises. I'll just do what I'm doing right now instead of going through all of them. But if you get some kind of a workout band, or even like you can do it with a broom handle, like a broomstick. If you hold it out straight in front of you, straight elbows, right? About, I don't know, for me it's like 2 feet, 2.5 feet, maybe, hands apart. And then you go up over your head, behind your back. If you can go behind your back with the band, I can stretch and I go behind my back. I don't know, I can't do that with a broomstick. But you can also do circles with the broomstick, one side and to the other side. Next, what I'm doing, because I have my elbow pain comes from the shoulders as well. You put your hands between that. You can also do this with the broomstick as well. Hands a little bit closer. I do it with bands, and I push my shoulders back and forth like scapula. Like you want to think your shoulder blades. Get your shoulder blades closer together. And going forward and back, if that makes sense. So like, this one's a hard one to explain, just audio wise. But Again, I'm not a doctor. This is what I do. Take from this what you want. So shoulders close together, scapulas, shoulder blades open up. So like you bring your shoulders close together and then open up your chest. You stick out your chest, get your shoulder blades close together. Right? That's the type of movement you want to do. I do 10 of each. Same with the foam roller. I do 10 rolls back and forth in general on each of the parts. Next, I have a band. I hold the band with my foot, step on the band, and then I bring it up. So I rotate. I'm going to stand up. If you're listening to this on Spotify, sorry, I'm doing my best. But so grab the band, lift up. You kind of twist your elbow open, and then open sideways and bring it back. Right? So elbow down. But you know what? I'm going to go get the band. Okay, I got my whole physical therapy kit. So here's my band. Right. You step on it, grab the band in one hand. You bring your wrist up. So like the band wants to turn your wrist so that your thumb goes down, but you want to keep the elbow stuck to your side. Lift up the band and then open out to the side with the hand. Makes sense? So I do 10 of those. Right? And that's it for the bands. Next, this is the one that I swear by, the rice bucket. I actually have one of these at my mom's house in Pennsylvania as well. And I think that bucket might be close to 10 years old. You get a bucket and you get like 5 pounds of rice, like a few bags of rice. So that my bucket is probably like 6 to 8 inches deep of rice. And there's different exercises you can do. It's basically like the idea of using the rice is just getting blood flow through your fingers, through your elbows, and even your shoulder. This thing works magic for climbers. I've recommended it to other climbers, and they're a lot of fun. Like they look at it like it's kind of crazy to think about. I talked about this in the podcast with Tony Wise, but I just brought it to Chile with me, and it was a big deal getting a bucket of rice across the border. They actually didn't, spoiler, they didn't let me go across the border with my rice. I had to buy new rice, so this rice is from Chile. So, but you get the bucket of rice, and the first thing you do is I put my watch down, and so every 30 seconds I change the exercise, and there's 8 of them. First, I just grab the rice with my fingertips. So you close your fingertips close together, grabbing at the rice fast. Like this should tire you out. 30 seconds should be fast. I've had friends who are climbers who have forearm strength, and they get gassed at the end of 2 minutes of this. So you grab with your fingertips, and then the opposite. You extend with you push your nails against the rice. You open the rice. Next, you grab the rice and make fists. You clench the rice as strong as you can, as if you wanted to break the rice. Next, you wave in the rice, so like your hand stays still and your fingers go back and forth, and you just push the rice back and forth. It's another 30 seconds, and then so that's the first 4. Then you've got another 4 that are your wrist. It's more dedicated to the wrist. You do wrist circles, which you can do without the rice. This already is a great warm-up. So you go wrist circles in one direction with your hands in the rice, and then wrist circles in the opposite direction, and then you go like no. So like thumbs close to each other and then far apart from each other, if that makes sense. Your fists go side to side, and then yes, right? Like so your fists go up and down in the rice, or back and forth. Like if you were nodding yes, that type of movement, those are the other 2. So that's the rice. Those are awesome. I don't have any weights, so this is one that Marcos marked for me, but yeah, I just have my bucket of rice. And at first I did it with a bucket of rice, and now I've got rocks that I put in the bucket of rice. And I put my forearm on my knee, and you lift just with your wrist, you lift the rice bucket up and down. I do 10 of those. And then you go side to side with the wrist. And then you flip your hand over so that your thumb is facing up. I'm not doing this in the video. Hold on. So here, wait, let me get the bucket. Okay. And you see, this is my bucket of rice, right? You go down, and then you go up. And you go down. You do 10 of those. Actually, I'm angling my elbow so that you can see in the camera, but it should be 90-90. Hold on. I can lift up the seat. This is the best podcast ever. Okay, so right, so you go down and up, and then I do the other side, and you go no, right? Same type of deal as with the rice bucket. So you go side to side, and then you flip so that your palms up, and again you go down and up, down and up. I do 15 of these because these, I don't know, I think because this is stronger than the other side. So I do 15 of these and then side to side. Sweet. Now the only thing that's left is, what is this thing called? The TheraBand Flex Bar from performancehealth.com. So this thing, I found this, I think someone might have sent me a reel or a short or something that I happened to see right around Christmas while I was visiting my family in Pennsylvania. And I saw it and I was like, yes, I went on Amazon, buy now, because I knew this isn't something that you can find in Argentina. They cost like $15 each. There's different resistances, but these are made for tennis elbow. These are made for lateral epicondylalgia. Yeah, this thing is awesome. This is made. There's a couple different exercises. I'm going to show you what I do. This is like the basic one. And there's different resistances. This is like, I think, a 3 out of 4. I'm actually going back now in June, and I might get the red one, which is the 4 out of 4 because I'm getting stronger. So, you want to hold the flex bar. Again, I'm doing it in the video. Hold the flex bar with the thumb. Your palm, my left elbow is the one that hurts. So I'm holding the flex bar in my right hand with my palm facing away from my face. The back of my hand is facing towards my face. And then with the other hand in the opposite direction, thumb up, palm towards me, is going to grab the other side of the bar, grab, squeeze, and then I'm going to bring both hands in front of me. So I twist the flex bar, and then I very slowly let the left hand release and curl down. That makes sense. So you reload, you grab it again, go again, and slowly let the wrist go down. So I did like 10 of those with a 30-second break between when I first started out. Now what I do is I load it up, I bring it down, and then I bring it back up as well. And I do 10 of those. And I do it with the other hand. Yeah, and that's the end. That's my 20-30 minute elbow warm-up workout. And it's been incredible. It's helped me out a lot. I'm back to moonboarding very slowly. I've slowly gotten back. I'm still not doing anything hard on the moonboard, but at least I'm playing with the moonboard again. That's the climbing apparatus again, if you're not a climber. And I think the thing that really blew my mind I messaged Marcos and told him, I was like, my mind is, one time I picked up the cast iron pan, and I felt when I picked it up, I had to be conscious, because if I picked it up really fast, it would really hurt, and it would be you could feel like one tendon, one thing of muscle that is the thing that's messed up, and that's what I'm using to pick up the pan. And one day I picked it up, and I was like, I could feel the pain. I could feel that one tendon or that one tissue that was messed up, but I felt like it had backup, like it had more apoyo, there's more muscle helping out. There's more tendon. I'm not a doctor. Yeah, that's my workout or my warm up, and I'm really excited. I really hope this is another. I was so excited for this one to be different from the other two podcasts. I don't know if it really was. I hope it's informative. I hope if any of you have any kind of injury, I hope like at least it works as motivation. It helps you out. If you do have an injury, please reach out. I know how much of a bummer it can be. I've had a few friends that were in similar, not climbers, like just people that sit at the computer. And like I said, it sucks getting hurt and not being able to just sit at a computer and make money. But yeah, feel free to reach out. I hope this helps. And thank you so much for listening. Next week is going to be another fun one with Jonathan Schroeder. We did a podcast before and we talked a lot about video editing. You're going to have to sit through a little bit of running because running is awesome. And running is also like I said, one of the things that's helped me getting through the elbow injury. But yeah, that was a fun one. Thanks so much for listening. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one.